Every generation searches for answers to life's most pressing questions: how to find peace, how to live rightly, how to walk with purpose when the world feels uncertain. The Book of Proverbs stands like a guiding light through that search, offering insight that transcends time, culture, and circumstance. Yet many pass by its treasures without truly seeing them. Its words are short, yet behind each one lies a depth that only humility can uncover. This collection of divine wisdom does not simply teach how to think, but how to live with understanding that flows from the heart, not just the mind. Pride blinds the soul to these truths. It whispers that knowledge alone is enough, that human reason can replace divine instruction. Yet Proverbs reveals the opposite, that wisdom begins only when one bows low in reverence to God. Those who come with open hearts find meaning that intellect alone cannot grasp. It is not the complexity of Scripture that hides its truth, but the posture of the reader. The proud look and see poetry, the humble look and see light. Every proverb acts like a seed, small and unassuming, yet capable of growing into a mighty tree of understanding. When planted in a heart willing to listen, it produces peace, clarity, and strength. When ignored or dismissed, it remains dormant, its power unseen. This is why the pursuit of wisdom requires stillness, an ability to pause, reflect, and let truth take root. Only a heart at rest can receive what God freely offers. Wisdom calls out quietly, waiting in the background of life's noise. It does not compete with chaos, but invites the listener to silence the world for a moment. In that quiet space, the words of Proverbs come alive, transforming from ancient text into living truth. Those who take the time to listen discover that wisdom speaks not only through Scripture, but also through experience, conscience, and the small details of daily life that others overlook. The beginning of this journey is humility, a willingness to admit that one does not know everything, and a desire to learn from the one who does. Pride seeks to control, but humility seeks to understand. Proverbs reminds us that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, and that reverence opens doors the proud can never enter. Those who walk through that doorway begin to see life differently. They find that wisdom is not hidden to punish, but hidden to protect, reserved for those who value truth above ego. If these words awaken something within you, if you feel the desire to walk deeper into divine understanding, then let this be the start of your journey. Stay connected, because wisdom grows through reflection, and reflection begins with listening. Subscribe to the channel so you can continue exploring these powerful messages. Like this video if its words inspire you, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice might encourage someone else searching for light, and together we can learn to walk the path of true wisdom. Quietness often reveals what noise conceals. Wisdom does not shout to capture attention. It waits patiently in the stillness of the heart. While the world rewards the loud and celebrates those who speak often, true understanding speaks softly, asking to be sought rather than forced. Many overlook this voice because they expect revelation to arrive in thunder or spectacle. Yet divine truth often enters through a whisper, a subtle prompting, or a moment of reflection that others rush past. The heart that learns to listen begins to perceive messages woven into silence, guidance that words alone cannot express. Within the pages of Proverbs, wisdom is portrayed as a woman standing in the streets, calling out to those willing to hear. Every distraction competes for attention. Every thought demands priority. And in this constant movement, the voice of understanding grows faint. Still, it continues to call, steady, gentle, and unwavering. Those who learn to quiet their restless minds begin to realize that divine truth has been speaking all along. The challenge is not that God is silent, but that humanity rarely pauses to hear him. When a person finally learns the discipline of stillness, clarity begins to unfold. The conscience, often muffled by endless activity, becomes sensitive again. Proverbs teaches that the wise person treasures instruction, listening more than speaking, observing more than reacting. This quiet posture opens a channel where truth can flow freely, transforming confusion into insight. Through prayer, meditation, or a reflective moment, one begins to recognize how wisdom moves beneath the surface of daily life, guiding through conviction, discernment, and peace. Life's noise does not merely come from outside, it also echoes within. Pride creates an internal clamor, a need to defend, prove, and assert. That noise drowns out the still, small voice of wisdom, yet humility brings calm. When the proud heart softens, the spirit becomes receptive, and instruction no longer feels like correction, but like grace. The humble listener understands that silence is not emptiness, it is preparation. In the quiet, the heart adjusts to truth, and the soul learns to rest in understanding rather than struggle for control. Listening is not passive, it requires intention. The world often confuses listening with waiting for a chance to respond, but true listening surrenders the need to speak. Proverbs repeatedly emphasizes that fools rush to answer while the wise hold their tongue. This restraint is not weakness but strength. It gives space for reflection, allowing thoughts to mature before they become words. Through that patient quietness, discernment is born. It teaches when to speak, what to say, and when to remain silent, revealing that wisdom's power lies not only in speech, but in restraint. Humanity's desire for noise comes from fear, fear of stillness, fear of insignificance, fear of what silence might reveal. But silence is not absence, it is presence. It exposes the heart's condition, uncovering motives and desires hidden beneath layers of distraction. The person who dares to dwell in that quiet learns truth about themselves, about God, and about life that no amount of noise could ever teach. Proverbs' call to wisdom is, in essence, an invitation to return to that place of sacred quiet, where truth no longer hides. When wisdom speaks, it rarely answers every question directly. Instead, it guides toward understanding that unfolds with time. Those who listen closely learn that not every answer must be immediate. Waiting refines faith, and faith deepens discernment. Every pause becomes an opportunity to see beyond circumstances, to discern what the noise of anxiety or ambition often conceals. Those who have learned to hear the silent voice of wisdom walk through life with calm assurance, unmoved by chaos because they have learned to recognize truth's quiet rhythm beneath it. Each moment of stillness becomes an encounter. Wisdom teaches that God's guidance is not confined to sacred spaces, but flows through every detail of life, through an unexpected thought, a gentle conviction, or a verse remembered in the right moment. The proud overlook these subtle signs, believing that great truths must arrive with grandeur. Yet those who walk humbly discover that the most profound guidance often arrives unnoticed, shaping choices, calming fears, and leading toward paths of peace. The silent voice of wisdom speaks continually. Only the willing heart can truly hear it. Pride wears many disguises, and few recognize it until it has already taken hold. It often presents itself as confidence, ambition, or strength, yet beneath the surface lies a subtle rebellion against dependence on divine truth. Proverbs repeatedly warns that pride precedes destruction, not because arrogance brings punishment, but because it blinds perception. The proud cannot see the danger ahead because they refuse to admit the possibility of being wrong. Their certainty becomes their downfall, their self-assurance, their chain. In every generation, pride adapts, finding new forms to fit the times. It can dwell in the learned scholar, convinced that intellect alone reveals truth. It can hide in the religious person, satisfied with outward devotion while resisting inner transformation. It can live in the humble disguise of false modesty, which denies pride verbally but nurtures it secretly. No one is fully free from its reach. Proverbs exposes pride's deceptive nature not to condemn, but to awaken the heart to how deeply it distorts one's view of self and others. When pride governs, correction feels like insult. The proud hear reproof not as love but as threat. This reaction reveals how pride isolates, cutting the person off from growth and guidance. Humility, in contrast, receives instruction as a gift, recognizing that every word of correction protects from harm. The proud build walls, the humble open doors. Over time, those walls grow thicker until even truth cannot enter. That is why Proverbs insists that wisdom cannot dwell with arrogance. It cannot flourish in soil hardened by self-importance. Pride often feeds on comparison. It measures worth by superiority and finds satisfaction in appearing greater than others. This endless competition breeds insecurity, resentment, and blindness. The wise person understands that greatness does not come from standing above others, but from standing rightly before God. Proverbs teaches that honor follows humility, while pride invites disgrace. True elevation begins with surrender, and the heart that bends low is lifted high, not by its own strength, but by divine grace. Every act of pride carries a false promise. It tells the heart that control brings peace, that knowledge brings power, and that independence brings freedom. Yet none of these fulfill what they promise. Pride enslaves under the illusion of mastery. It pushes away the very guidance that could lead to genuine peace. The proud become their own authority, trapped within their limited understanding, unable to see that what they call strength is actually fragility. Proverbs unmasks this lie by revealing that real power is found in humility, not in dominance. Those who walk humbly see correction as an opportunity, not humiliation. They understand that wisdom grows through acknowledgement of weakness. Pride, however, rejects weakness entirely, equating it with failure. This rejection leads to frustration, because life continuously exposes human limitation. The proud resist this truth until they break under it, while the humble embrace it and are made stronger. This contrast lies at the heart of Proverbs' message, that pride builds a fragile foundation, but humility builds one that endures. Pride corrupts relationships as easily as it corrupts the soul. It turns conversation into competition, service into performance, and faith into display. It thrives in recognition and falters in obscurity. The wise person learns to detect its whisper early, to silence its influence before it poisons intention. Proverbs calls for a heart that values peace over praise, truth over triumph, and understanding over appearance. Only then can wisdom take root where pride once ruled. The mask of pride falls slowly. Every moment of honest reflection removes a layer, revealing what lies beneath: the fear of being insignificant, the desire to control outcomes, the hunger for validation. When these are surrendered, humility begins to heal what pride has damaged. That healing opens the way for wisdom to dwell once more. The person who chooses humility discovers that life becomes clearer, lighter, and richer in meaning. Pride promises glory, but delivers emptiness. Humility asks for surrender, but gives peace. Fear of the Lord stands not as terror, but as awe, a recognition of divine majesty so profound that it reshapes the soul's priorities. It is the beginning of wisdom because it restores the right order of understanding, placing God at the center and self in its rightful place. When the heart grasps the vastness of divine holiness, pride dissolves and reverence takes its place. This fear is not dread, but wonder, not panic, but respect. It is the realization that human wisdom is small beside eternal truth. Every pursuit of understanding begins to shift once reverence takes root. The wise no longer chase knowledge for personal gain, but seek alignment with divine will. Proverbs describes this posture as the foundation of life, the cornerstone upon which discernment and integrity are built. Without this foundation, all knowledge becomes unstable, vulnerable to distortion by ego or desire. Reverence anchors the heart, giving it balance amid life's changing winds. A person who fears the Lord walks with caution, not out of anxiety but out of love. Each decision becomes a reflection of that reverence. Speech softens, actions slow, and choices become deliberate. Proverbs teaches that such fear prolongs days and brings peace, not because it avoids suffering, but because it cultivates inner order. When God is honored above all else, every part of life begins to align with wisdom's rhythm, producing fruit that endures beyond circumstance. Understanding this fear requires humility. The proud cannot experience it, for reverence demands surrender, pride demands control. The two cannot coexist. Reverence acknowledges dependence, admitting that human effort alone cannot sustain righteousness. This humility opens the door for divine guidance. Every verse in Proverbs that mentions the fear of the Lord points toward this transformation, an inner recognition that true wisdom flows not from human reasoning, but from divine illumination. Reverence transforms perception. What once seemed insignificant becomes sacred. Work, relationships, and choices take on eternal meaning when viewed through awe. The fear of the Lord does not confine life, but enlarges it, freeing the soul from trivial pursuits and empty pride. It teaches discernment between what matters and what fades. This clarity becomes the mark of wisdom, a steady awareness of divine presence that influences every thought and action. When this reverence deepens, obedience ceases to feel like duty and becomes delight. The wise obey not to earn favor, but because they recognize the perfection of divine law. Proverbs reveals that this obedience brings safety, not from external harm, but from inner ruin. It guards the heart from deception, the mind from confusion, and the spirit from despair. Fear of the Lord becomes a refuge, a place of clarity where every decision flows from love rather than self-interest. This foundation also shapes how one views others. Reverence for God naturally leads to respect for creation and compassion toward humanity. The proud see others as rivals or tools, but the reverent see them as reflections of divine image. This perspective changes interactions, softening judgment and inspiring kindness. Proverbs teaches that those who walk in reverence become sources of peace and stability in their communities, embodying wisdom not through words, but through presence. Each lesson of Proverbs grows from this root of reverence. Without it, moral principles become mere ethics. With it, they become expressions of divine truth. The fear of the Lord binds wisdom, knowledge, and understanding together, forming a structure that no storm can shake. Every choice built upon that foundation stands firm. Every failure becomes instruction, and every success turns to gratitude. Reverence creates stability where pride breeds restlessness, shaping a life that mirrors heaven's order even within the uncertainty of earth. Every life unfolds as a journey shaped by choices, each decision paving a path that either leads toward light or deeper into confusion. Proverbs paints this contrast vividly, describing the way of the wise as a road lined with understanding, peace, and discernment, while the way of the fool winds through pride, haste, and destruction. These two paths run through every heart. No one is born walking one or the other. Each day offers a new direction, a moment to decide whether to follow wisdom's gentle guidance or the impulsive voice of folly. Walking the way of the wise begins with attention. Those who are wise do not drift through life aimlessly. They observe patterns, listen to counsel, and consider consequences before acting. Proverbs teaches that wisdom builds through discipline and reflection, not through chance. A wise heart looks beyond immediate reward, perceiving the long-term fruit of integrity, patience, and righteousness. Such a person learns that stability does not come from speed, but from steady obedience to divine truth. Folly, in contrast, thrives in haste. The fool acts before thinking, speaks before listening, and judges before understanding. Pride drives this recklessness, convincing the heart that its impulse is infallible. Proverbs warns that this arrogance blinds the soul, making correction unbearable and wisdom inaccessible. Those who walk this road often believe they are free, yet their steps grow heavy with regret. Each careless choice adds another stone to a path that leads away from peace. Every path carries companions. Wisdom attracts those who love truth, who strengthen one another through honesty and humility. Folly gathers the proud, who encourage each other in error and mock correction. Proverbs reminds that companions shape destiny. Those who walk with fools suffer harm, while those who walk with the wise grow stronger. This truth reveals that wisdom is not only about personal decisions, but also about relationships, for influence either reinforces wisdom or undermines it. True wisdom guides not only major choices, but the smallest habits of thought and speech. It governs how one responds to offense, how one handles success, how one treats others when unseen. Proverbs teaches that consistency in these quiet moments forms character. The wise measure words, guard motives, and act with sincerity, while the fool reacts out of impulse, feeding emotion rather than discernment. Each moment of restraint becomes a step toward stability, each rash decision a stumble toward ruin. Temptation often disguises the road of folly as a quicker route to satisfaction. It whispers that wisdom takes too long, that patience is weakness, that self-restraint limits joy. Yet Proverbs reveals the opposite. True joy comes from peace of conscience, not indulgence. Those who rush after pleasure find themselves enslaved by it, while those who walk patiently in wisdom discover freedom in contentment. The wise see that what begins as small compromise can grow into captivity if left unchecked. Guidance through this journey does not come from self-reliance but from trust. Proverbs declares that leaning on one's own understanding leads astray, while acknowledging God in all ways directs the path. Trust becomes the compass that keeps the heart aligned when circumstances grow uncertain. The wise learn to rely not on sight, but on faith, knowing that unseen wisdom leads more securely than visible reasoning. Each act of trust strengthens the road beneath their feet. Growth in wisdom often feels slow, yet it brings deep roots. Those who walk this path endure storms without collapse because their foundation is truth. The fool, building on pride, may rise quickly but falls without warning. Proverbs urges reflection on every step, reminding that direction matters more than speed. One cannot walk both paths at once. Eventually, the roads diverge completely. Choosing the way of wisdom may demand sacrifice, yet it yields peace that folly can never imitate. Speech carries power far beyond what many recognize. Proverbs declares that death and life rest in the tongue, meaning every word has potential to heal or harm, to lift or destroy. Wisdom understands this sacred responsibility and guards speech carefully, treating words as seeds that will inevitably bear fruit. The fool, however, treats language carelessly, scattering words without thought, unaware that wounds created by the tongue often cut deeper than any blade. Every sentence spoken reveals the state of the heart. The wise do not simply avoid lying, they speak with grace, discernment, and purpose. Their words comfort, correct, and inspire because they flow from a place of peace and understanding. Proverbs reminds that pleasant words are like honey, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. Such speech carries warmth and life, drawing people closer and nurturing trust. Words born of pride, however, carry bitterness, stirring division and resentment wherever they land. A quiet tongue reflects deep strength. Restraint does not imply weakness. It signifies mastery over impulse. Proverbs teaches that even a fool appears wise when silent, revealing that measured speech earns respect. Those who rush to speak expose folly, while those who weigh their words create space for truth. The wise understand timing, when to speak, how to speak, and when silence communicates more than words ever could. Gossip remains one of the most destructive uses of speech. Proverbs likens it to fire. Once released, it consumes everything in its path. The fool delights in spreading secrets, mistaking the attention it brings for importance. Wisdom refuses such temptation, choosing discretion and loyalty instead. By guarding another's reputation, the wise guard their own integrity. This discipline builds relationships founded on trust, where honesty thrives without fear of betrayal. Flattery, though gentle in tone, shares the same danger as deceit. It manipulates through praise, feeding pride rather than truth. Proverbs warns that a flattering tongue works ruin because it disguises selfish intent as kindness. The wise encourage sincerely, speaking words that uplift without exaggeration. Authentic affirmation nourishes growth. Manipulation breeds destruction. Those guided by wisdom speak truth even when difficult, knowing that honest correction blesses more than false comfort. Speech also holds the power to restore. A single word of forgiveness can dissolve years of bitterness. A kind phrase can reignite hope in a weary soul. Proverbs teaches that a gentle answer turns away wrath, transforming anger into understanding. This principle shows that wisdom in speech not only prevents harm, but repairs what pride has broken. Each thoughtful word becomes a bridge, reconnecting hearts divided by misunderstanding. Foolish speech thrives on argument. The proud seek victory in conversation rather than understanding. Proverbs warns against engaging with such disputes, for no wisdom grows from shouting matches. The wise choose peace over pride, listening more than speaking, responding with patience rather than provocation. Silence in such moments becomes not defeat, but triumph, a quiet victory of self-control over ego. Every conversation carries eternal significance because language shapes perception. Words spoken in faith plant courage in others, while words born of doubt spread fear. The wise treat communication as ministry, using it to reflect grace and truth. Each interaction becomes an opportunity to bless rather than burden. Proverbs reminds that those who guard their mouth preserve their life. For self-control in speech reflects maturity of spirit and depth of understanding. Wisdom does not only dwell in sacred texts or moments of revelation, it hides within ordinary experiences, waiting for those who look beyond the surface. Proverbs teaches that understanding walks through daily life disguised as routine, appearing in tasks, relationships, and quiet reflections. Those who seek divine truth in the ordinary discover that nothing is wasted. Every event, every challenge, every success becomes a lesson carefully placed by divine intention. Work often becomes the first classroom where wisdom is tested and refined. Proverbs honors diligence, declaring that the hand of the diligent makes rich, not merely in material reward, but in character. Through consistent effort, the soul learns discipline, patience, and humility. Even mundane labor becomes meaningful when performed with integrity. The wise recognize that excellence in small things prepares the heart for greater responsibility, while neglect in small duties weakens the spirit. Failure, though painful, hides deeper treasure. Each setback exposes pride, reveals hidden motives, and refines perseverance. Proverbs insists that a righteous person may fall repeatedly, yet rises again, because wisdom transforms defeat into instruction. Those who learn from failure grow stronger, developing resilience that success alone cannot teach. Every disappointment becomes soil where humility and discernment take root, shaping a soul that no longer fears difficulty. Relationships serve as another field where wisdom grows. Patience, forgiveness, and empathy are learned not through theory, but through interaction. Proverbs speaks often of friendship and family, urging kindness, honesty, and restraint. Every misunderstanding offers a chance to practice grace. Every moment of unity reflects divine order. Those who value people more than pride discover that wisdom's greatest beauty lies in how it teaches love to endure. Seasons of waiting reveal treasures unseen in busier times. When progress slows, the heart learns contentment. Proverbs honors patience as strength, portraying it as a virtue that preserves peace when circumstances seem stagnant. Waiting refines faith, stripping away illusion and teaching dependence on God's timing. Wisdom whispers through delay, saying that what matures slowly lasts longer than what arrives too soon. Even joy carries lessons. Laughter teaches gratitude, reminding that peace can exist even in imperfection. Proverbs encourages gladness of heart as a healing force, proclaiming that a cheerful spirit brings life to the body. The wise celebrate not out of indulgence, but from appreciation. They find joy in simple blessings, recognizing that gratitude turns ordinary moments into worship. This ability to rejoice becomes a mark of wisdom, for it reflects understanding of life's fleeting beauty. Observation also reveals treasure. The wise study creation, the ant's diligence, the tree's endurance, the river's persistence, and draw insight from them. Proverbs invites reflection on these natural parables, showing how divine order teaches through what many overlook. Each element of creation mirrors truth about perseverance, cooperation, and faithfulness. To those attentive enough to notice, the world itself becomes a living testament of divine wisdom. Everyday life continually offers invitations to grow. Those guided by wisdom accept these moments not as interruptions, but as opportunities. They learn that holiness and understanding are not confined to temples or ceremonies, but woven through the ordinary fabric of existence. Every task done with reverence becomes sacred. Every encounter becomes meaningful. Hidden treasures lie all around, waiting for the heart humble enough to notice and grateful enough to learn. Companionship shapes destiny more deeply than most realize. Proverbs speaks repeatedly of the influence of association, warning that those who walk with the wise grow in discernment, while those who align with fools invite harm. Every person becomes a reflection of the circle they embrace, for character is both taught and transferred through relationship. The human heart was designed for connection, yet connection without discernment easily leads to corruption. Choosing companions, therefore, is not merely a social preference, but a spiritual decision that determines direction. Influence works quietly, forming thought patterns before they are noticed. Those who dwell among the wise absorb their restraint, patience, and humility almost unconsciously, while those who dwell among the proud adopt arrogance without realizing it. Proverbs portrays friendship as a mirror, reflecting not who one pretends to be, but who one is becoming. True companionship strengthens virtue, sharpening integrity through honest counsel and shared reverence for truth. Foolish company, however, rewards impulsiveness and mocks correction, drawing even the steady into folly. Trust forms the foundation of lasting fellowship, but trust without wisdom leads to vulnerability. Proverbs urges careful observation of those invited into closeness, not through suspicion, but discernment. Character reveals itself not in words, but in consistency. Those who seek counsel from those lacking integrity build on unstable ground, yet surrounding oneself with godly influences creates protection. For wise friends serve as guardians of the soul, gently redirecting when the path begins to stray. Every friendship carries a purpose, either to refine or to test. Proverbs illustrates that faithful companions speak truth even when it wounds, for sincere rebuke is an act of love. The fool prefers flattery, which comforts for a moment but corrupts the spirit over time. Those who walk in humility appreciate correction, valuing truth above ego. Such relationships form a network of strength, binding hearts in honesty that withstands misunderstanding and adversity. Conflict reveals the quality of connection. When disagreement arises, wisdom shows through patience, while folly erupts in anger and pride. Proverbs honors the one who controls temper, for self-restraint preserves peace and earns respect. Wise companions listen before reacting, seeking resolution over victory. Fools escalate conflict, turning difference into division. The manner in which people respond to tension exposes whether their bond is built on truth or convenience. Influence extends beyond friends to mentors and counselors. Those who seek guidance from upright hearts find direction illuminated by experience and reverence. Proverbs teaches that safety multiplies through wise counsel, for perspectives anchored in truth prevent reckless choices. However, listening to voices that feed ambition rather than righteousness leads to ruin. The discerning learn to test every word against divine principle before accepting its influence, ensuring that guidance uplifts rather than deceives. Association also affects spiritual appetite. Constant exposure to negativity, pride, or indulgence dulls sensitivity to truth. The soul begins to crave what it consumes. Proverbs reminds that evil communication corrupts good manners because it reshapes desire. The wise guard the gate of fellowship carefully, choosing companions who inspire growth rather than diminish virtue. Such companionship does not isolate but enriches, creating a community where encouragement replaces envy and righteousness flourishes. Every relationship carries opportunity for reflection. Those who examine the company they keep often discover reflections of their own heart. Wisdom invites humility in friendship, patience when wronged, forgiveness when disappointed, and gratitude when loved. A wise companion becomes more than an ally. They become an extension of divine grace in human form. Proverbs assures that friendship grounded in truth outlasts storms because it rests on shared reverence for God, not convenience. Wealth tests the soul more than poverty ever can. Proverbs never condemns prosperity, yet it continually warns against trusting in it. Riches provide opportunity, but also reveal character. When possessions multiply, the heart must decide whether it will serve them or use them for higher purpose. Wisdom teaches that material success becomes either a tool for righteousness or a snare for pride. The wise understand that prosperity without gratitude breeds emptiness, while gratitude sanctifies every gain. Labor stands at the center of Proverbs' teaching on character. Diligence reflects faithfulness to divine order, for creation itself operates through steady effort and rhythm. Those who work with integrity honor God through consistency, understanding that excellence in daily duty becomes worship in motion. Laziness, however, leads to decay, not only of wealth but of spirit. Proverbs liken sloth to a creeping ruin, subtle yet certain. Each neglected task erodes confidence, each delay weakens resolve, until opportunity fades entirely. Contentment transforms work from burden to blessing. The wise labor not for endless accumulation, but for fulfillment in faithfulness. Proverbs reveals that satisfaction does not come from abundance, but from balance, knowing when enough is sufficient. Pursuit of riches without restraint enslaves the mind, while contentment frees it. Those who measure worth by possessions lose sight of the heart's true treasure, for peace cannot be bought and joy cannot be stored. Generosity transforms wealth into blessing that extends beyond self. Proverbs praises the one who gives freely, for such giving multiplies unseen reward. The act of sharing cleanses greed from the spirit, proving that the giver owns possessions rather than being owned by them. Those who hoard out of fear eventually discover that what they guard most tightly becomes their prison. Wise generosity reflects trust in divine provision, affirming that supply flows through open hands, not closed fists. Integrity governs prosperity's direction. Gaining wealth through deceit destroys peace even if fortune grows. Proverbs insists that better is a little with righteousness than great revenue with injustice. This truth reveals the heart's true measure of success, not accumulation, but alignment with divine principles. The wise value a clear conscience more than comfort, for conscience carries into eternity, while possessions fade. Work done with reverence elevates even the simplest labor. Proverbs celebrates those who perform their tasks with excellence, declaring they shall stand before kings. This promise speaks not only of honor but of purpose. Every effort dedicated to righteousness becomes a form of testimony. When one works with diligence and humility, even ordinary tasks reflect divine order. Through such faithfulness, wisdom transforms routine into sacred service. Trust becomes the key to balancing labor and rest. The anxious worker toils endlessly, fearing lack, while the wise rest peacefully, knowing that provision lies not solely in human effort, but in divine grace. Proverbs encourages reliance on God's timing and supply, reminding that wealth gained hastily fades, but that which grows through diligence and patience endures. Trust redirects ambition from self-glory to stewardship, allowing prosperity to serve purpose rather than pride. Every treasure reveals its master. When wealth controls decisions, the heart has already surrendered to idolatry. Proverbs calls for constant examination, urging that the pursuit of wisdom outweigh the pursuit of gold. True riches lie in understanding, mercy, and reverence. Those who grasp this truth find that peace accompanies their labor, generosity accompanies their gain, and gratitude accompanies their rest. Wealth becomes a servant of righteousness rather than its rival. Correction stands as the sharpest tool in wisdom's hand. Proverbs describes reproof as the way of life, a process that purifies motive and refines understanding. Few welcome correction, for pride recoils at exposure, yet without it, growth halts. Those who love instruction embrace correction not as punishment but as protection. Each rebuke becomes a mirror, revealing what the eyes alone cannot see. The wise cherish this mirror, for it reflects the path toward maturity and truth. Resistance to correction reveals pride's last stronghold. Proverbs teaches that the fool despises instruction, considering it insult rather than mercy. Such defiance isolates the heart, locking it within its own error. The wise, however, listen carefully, discerning the voice of love even in words that sting. They understand that pain from correction prevents greater harm, much like a physician's cut that heals the wound beneath. This humility transforms discomfort into wisdom. Reproof spoken in love requires courage from both giver and receiver. The one who corrects must speak with gentleness, guided by sincerity rather than superiority. The one corrected must listen without defense. Proverbs honors both roles, for they sustain righteousness within community. When truth is spoken without malice and received without pride, relationships strengthen and understanding deepens. Correction handled rightly becomes an act of unity rather than division. Self-examination serves as the highest form of discipline. Those who learn to correct themselves spare others the burden of doing so. Proverbs encourages reflection at the close of each day, measuring actions, weighing words, and acknowledging where pride interfered with wisdom. Such introspection fosters spiritual alertness, preventing folly from taking root. The heart that humbly adjusts course daily walks a straighter path than one that waits for public rebuke. Correction also protects from deception. Pride easily convinces the heart that its way is right. Proverbs warns that this blindness leads to ruin unless interrupted by counsel or discipline. Wise correction, whether through scripture, conscience, or trusted guidance, shatters illusion before it hardens into sin. Those who accept this interruption with gratitude remain teachable, preserving innocence even amid failure. Refusal, however, guarantees stagnation and eventual collapse. Patience accompanies correction, for transformation seldom occurs instantly. Proverbs teaches that discipline produces peaceable fruit over time, meaning wisdom grows through endurance. Each lesson revisited, each habit broken, each impulse restrained, marks progress unseen by others, but celebrated in heaven. The wise endure correction repeatedly, knowing that refinement never ceases. What begins as struggle becomes strength when the heart yields fully to truth. Pride fears exposure, yet humility finds freedom in it. Proverbs illustrates that confession restores honor because it aligns the soul with truth. Those who admit error gain wisdom faster than those who conceal it. Transparency removes the weight of pretense, making space for grace to rebuild. Correction, then, becomes not a wound, but a doorway into greater clarity. The heart that welcomes it grows secure, while the one that resists remains restless. Discipline reveals divine love. Proverbs reminds that whom the Lord loves, he corrects, as a parent disciplines a child in whom they delight. This truth transforms the entire experience of reproof. Rather than feeling condemned, the wise recognize affection in discipline, understanding that divine correction preserves life from ruin. Every lesson, though difficult, becomes evidence of care, a reminder that the Creator refines those he values. Accepting that love brings peace, for correction ceases to be punishment and becomes guidance toward perfection. Life guided by divine wisdom becomes a radiant testimony to heaven's presence on earth. Proverbs describes the wise not through eloquence or status, but through the quiet consistency of righteous living. Such a person radiates peace amid turmoil, patience amid provocation, and humility amid praise. Their presence itself becomes a sermon, wordless yet profound, reminding others that holiness is not a performance, but a posture of heart. Every act of integrity, every word spoken with grace, every decision rooted in reverence, reflects the image of God within humanity. Wisdom transforms ordinary existence into a reflection of eternal truth. Those who walk in it carry light that neither pride nor despair can extinguish. Their choices ripple outward, influencing families, workplaces, and communities, revealing that righteousness is not confined to sacred spaces, but expressed through daily faithfulness. Proverbs portrays this transformation as a crown, a visible mark of inner mastery, earned not by power but by surrender. Those who wear this crown understand that true greatness lies in service, and true honor flows from humility. Every virtue taught throughout Proverbs finds completion here. Discipline, patience, kindness, discernment, and humility weave together into a life that bears the fragrance of heaven. Such a life does not seek recognition, but naturally attracts it, for peace draws attention in a world ruled by chaos. The wise become like steady lamps in darkness, not because they claim perfection, but because they allow divine wisdom to shine through their imperfection. Their stability becomes refuge for others, their counsel a healing balm for troubled hearts. Faithfulness, over time, becomes the mark of genuine wisdom. Proverbs celebrates those who remain steadfast when others waver, those who keep integrity when no one watches. This endurance does not spring from willpower, but from reverence. A heart anchored in the fear of the Lord finds strength to persevere through temptation, grief, and success alike. The wise understand that character built on divine foundation cannot collapse, for it rests upon eternal truth. Joy accompanies wisdom as its constant companion, not a shallow happiness tied to circumstance, but deep contentment that flows from knowing one's purpose. Proverbs reveals that the wise rejoice even in difficulty because they see meaning beyond the moment. Gratitude turns suffering into strength, transforming burdens into blessings. This joy becomes contagious, spreading hope wherever it goes, lifting weary souls to remember that divine presence endures even through pain. Compassion marks those who live by wisdom's principles. They see beyond faults, love beyond convenience, and forgive beyond measure. Proverbs declares that those who show mercy find mercy, revealing that grace multiplies through those willing to extend it. The wise build bridges instead of walls, peace instead of division. Their kindness restores dignity to the forgotten and encouragement to the broken. Each act of compassion becomes a reflection of heaven's heart, beating through human hands. True wisdom also produces humility in leadership. Those entrusted with influence understand that authority is stewardship, not entitlement. Proverbs teaches that rulers who honor God bring stability, while those who exalt self breed corruption. The wise lead by example, not command, shaping others through integrity rather than force. They measure success not by acclaim, but by faithfulness. Such leadership mirrors divine governance, firm yet gentle, just yet merciful. A life shaped by divine wisdom leaves legacy beyond wealth or fame. Proverbs portrays the memory of the righteous as blessed, enduring far beyond the years they live. Those who walk in truth plant seeds that continue to bear fruit in future generations. Their example becomes instruction for children, their words become comfort for friends, and their deeds become inspiration for strangers. Even when their voices fall silent, their influence speaks through the lives they have touched. Peace crowns such a life. The wise rest content, not because every question is answered, but because trust has replaced anxiety. They have learned to let go of what they cannot control and to cherish what truly matters. Proverbs reveals that wisdom brings tranquility to the heart, creating harmony between thought, word, and deed. This peace stands as the final proof that wisdom has found its home within the soul. Those who walk in it need no grand display. Their serenity testifies louder than speech. A life that reflects heaven does not emerge suddenly. It is cultivated through surrender, discipline, and devotion. Every lesson from Proverbs builds toward this culmination, where knowledge becomes understanding and understanding becomes love. Such love shines quietly, reaching into the darkest corners of human experience and transforming them into places of light. The crown of wisdom, therefore, is not merely reward, but identity, the visible sign of a life aligned with divine truth, radiating the beauty of heaven through every act of faith. If this message has stirred your heart or inspired reflection, take a moment to let it grow. Share this journey with others by subscribing to the channel so you never miss a new message rooted in divine wisdom. Show your support by liking this video, letting it reach more hearts searching for guidance and peace. Write your thoughts or reflections in the comments below. Your words may encourage someone else walking their own path toward understanding. And if this message touched you, share it with your friends and loved ones, so they too may find comfort and clarity through the timeless wisdom that continues to guide those who seek truth.